Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today, well actually yesterday, I released a video talking about what many players consider to be, one of the, if not the worst battleships in game, and that was the Tier 9 German battleship, the FDG. A ship that certainly hasn't gotten better with time, shall we say. But if you're interested in like that, go check out yesterday's video. But what happened was, of course, in the comment section, many of you guys were discussing the topic of the video, and were bringing up other ships that you consider to be, among the worst of the worst in game. And one ship that got brought up a couple of times that caught my eye was, well, none other than the Tier 10 Premium, or I should say it's Tier 10 Special Japanese light cruiser, the Kitakami. Now, you might be saying, Sealord, why do I care about the Kitakami? Because believe it or not, dear viewers, it's time, or it's approaching time, for the Kitakami to return. If you remember all the way back in December of 2023, when the Kitakami was originally re-released back into the game in her insane Salvage for Victory event, we're getting put out a notice that the ship would not be available for 2 years. And we're approaching December of 2025. So, we're getting close to that 2-year milestone. Now, you might also be thinking, well, okay, sure, it might come back this December, but that's still like 6 months away. Is it really worth talking about right now? Well, when you understand what this ship was originally sold for, you might need, in fact, it might actually be too late for you to start saving up resources for the Kitakami yet again. So the Kitakami was originally, okay, if we want to go all the way back, originally she was a Tier 8 premium ship back in the day. She was a Tier 8, I believe, cruiser, maybe a destroyer. This is before my time. She had Shimakaze torpedoes at Tier 8. 40 of them. Friendly fire was a thing back in the day. You could put 2 and 2 together. Obviously not a great ship for the game. She was removed, replaced with the Otago, and then never seen or heard from again until, well, a couple years before 2023, when it was suddenly mentioned in a dev blog that they were actually working on the Kitakami again. And eventually, the ship did return in 2023 in the Salvage for Victory event, with a bunch of changes done to her. But what was Salvage for Victory? Well, the Salvage for Victory event was an event where you could exchange in-game resources for progress through the event. Now, in all fairness sake, it wasn't just the Kitakami that was being given away in this event. Obviously, that was the attraction for the event, right? The main attraction, the ship that you really wanted. But you did get 4 ships among the rewards. And 2 of them were Tier 10s. And one of them was pretty good, the defense, in my humble opinion. But anyway, if you wanted to get all the way through the event, you had to cough up something ridiculous, like I believe it was 192,000 Research Bureau points, 136,000 steel, 1.5 million coal, or 16 days of premium time. Well, and 16 days of premium time. You had to have some combination of those resources, right? The numbers I just gave you were, I believe, the numbers you needed to complete it with just that resource. So, for example, if you want to throw just steel at the event, you needed 136,000 steel, which, if you're a regular player, you know how absurd that is. Even someone like me that plays this game as a second job, I can, maybe get 2 steel ships a year, maybe 3 if I'm overly active in ranked and clan battles, which I've been really busy here recently, so unfortunately I haven't been, or would have had the Barbiano by now. But yeah, you get the idea. It's some ridiculous number, it was a ridiculous number of resources that you needed to cough up in order to get the Kitakami. Now, obviously too, this event was aimed at more veteran players that had a ton of these resources laying around. But if you wanted to get the ship, you really had to put your foot down and grind your life away through the Christmas event in order to even have a chance at getting the thing, which is what I did. I still wound up converting, I think it was like $60 or $80 worth of Research Bureau points in order to get the thing. So yeah, I gave up basically all my resources and $80 worth of converting free XP, then free XP to Research Bureau points to get the Kitakami. So either way, most players were handing over mountains of resources resources or a fair bit of cash. If you wanted to do the cash method, which would be converting ship XP to free XP, then free XP through the Harugama line or to earn the Research Bureau points, I believe it was somewhere along the lines of 14 to 1500 US dollars for this ship if you wanted to do that method. So this is a very pricey item in game. So what I'm saying is, it's likely not going to come back in a $120 Admiral bundle. It's probably going to come back in another similar event to Salvage for Victory. I'll be surprised, and I will applaud Wargaming if they just release it as a normal Tier 10 premium after this for like steel or coal or Research Bureau points. If they do that, I will applaud them. I doubt it, though. But anyway, so that's why you may want to start saving up resources if you do want this thing, which honestly you kind of don't, because it's not really a good ship. It's actually quite bad. It is so bad. So the Kitakami's whole thing is that you can crap out 40 torpedoes at once, because as you can tell, it's got a few torpedo tubes bolted to her decks. That's kind of the whole thing of the ship, obviously. So, what do you have to give up in order to get those 40 torpedoes? The ability to just, flood the seas with 40 torpedoes at one point. Well, a lot. You have to give up a lot in order to acquire that level of torpedo-ness. So all your gun power, you have 4 single-mounted, what are they, 150 millimeter guns? I don't even really know, because you're not going to be using them. They're so terrible. For trying to do anything. You're not really going to be using them except in like last second self-defense situations, or if the ship's down to like triple digits, then you can fling a shell at them and hope you hit their superstructure in order to get any pin damage off of them, to sink them using that method, right? But yeah, the guns are pretty much useless is what I'm saying. Now the torpedoes obviously are a little bit more useful. You have 2 sets of torpedoes, actually. You can swap between traditional torpedoes and deep-water torpedoes. And by traditional torpedoes, I mean Pan-Eurotorps. Oddly enough, they decided to give her 95-knot Pan-Eurotorps that do a whopping, it's like 12,000 alpha damage, I do believe, depending upon what build you want to go with. But they travel at 95 knots, so they're pretty fast. However, they only go out to 12 kilometers. So they're short-range, fast torpedoes with low alpha damage. Again, Pan-Eurotorps. Now, granted, of course, when you can flood the waves with 40 of the torpedoes, that's a little different there, but they're still, again, only doing 11 to 12,000 alpha damage, again, depending upon your commander build and all that jazz, to the target, which obviously isn't too much in terms of actually, putting pain down range. But I mean, hey, if you throw realistically too, if you throw half of your ship's worth of torpedoes at them, there's not a whole lot of tier 10 ships that can, shrug that off if they do manage to eat an entire wall of torpedoes. So those are, honestly, I find the more usable ones. The second set of torpedoes are, of course, the deep water torpedoes, which do, a much higher alpha damage rating than the standard torpedo, doing right around 20,000 alpha damage. So they're a little bit more oomphy, but they only travel at 75 knots, which, I mean, that's still fairly fast. But again, you can only hit battleships and carriers with them, because they are deep water torpedoes, not the ones that, some of the Pan-Asian ships get that can, hit like the heavier cruisers and such. It's just battleships and carriers with those. So obviously your targets are a lot more limited with them. And keep in mind too that if you do want to get all 40 torpedo tubes reloaded, you're gonna be sitting for, was it 5 minutes and change with the modules and such. Stock, it's like a 7-minute reload time in order to get all of the torpedo tubes reloaded, because each of the quad tubes takes a little over a minute to reload, and there's only one reloader per side. The ship's so weird. It's got so many gimmicks. It's got the deep water torpedoes of the Pan-Asian line. It's got the ability to swap torpedoes like super ships and such, and then it's got the loader mechanic like submarines, where there's only so many loaders for each side of the torpedo of the torpedo racks. So you have one loader essentially loading each of the individual tubes. So the, it's got to start at the first set of tubes and work its way down, right? So because of that, again, it's got like a 7-minute stock reload time for the tubes. So if you do want to do the beautiful thing when you flood the entire map with 40 torpedoes, you're going to be sitting around with a build a little over 5 minutes for it, which is just so boring. So usually what happens is that you sail to a flank, and by the time you get there, you may have half of your torpedo tubes reloaded per side. I mean, which is still, that's still what, if we 3? That's still 3 sets of tubes per side with 4 torps in each tube. That's still, what, 24 torpedoes that you can throw at the enemy team. So that's nothing too shabby. But then after that, you're kind of just sailing around waiting for, a couple of sets to get reloaded. Then you throw them at them, unless you want to wait around for, again, the other 5 or 7 minutes to get all the tubes reloaded. And then, again, with the way torpedoes are, you might hit a couple of those torps out of all 40 of them, and you still have no gunpowder or anything. Another weird thing that she has is she has an engine boost, which is like, okay, that's pretty, nice to have on, which is essentially a tier 4 ship at tier 10. And she has the exhaust smoke generator that the Italians have. So oddly enough, the Kitakami is actually surprisingly good at YOLOing enemy ships. It can happen. It has happened. I've done it a couple of times, and it's not terrible at that. So that's kind of weird how you can use it as, kind of an aerial denial tool with the deep water torpedoes. If you got a lot of battleships pushing down a flank, or even of course with the standard torpedoes too. If there's not a lot of radar on your side, you can use it to just keep chunking torpedoes down a flank and deny them like that. But you can also rush ships that are out off and about by themselves using that engine boost and the smoke generator. She does also thankfully have a heal, so there's that. Although the armor is so friggin' thin, you'll just be getting overpinned by everything to the point. Again, no armor is best armor, right? So you actually don't want to angle in a lot of situations. That's how thin this thing's armor is. So it's really funny how that works out. And, oh yeah, she has deck-mounted depth charges, so no ASW aircraft for you. You have to go over and sail to the enemy submarine and drop depth charges on them. So that's fun, right? So, yeah, that's what you get for, again, a mountain of resources. This is the ship you got. Again, you got 3 other ships along the way, but this is, of course, the price you had to pay in order to get to this ship. Now, what are they going to release her for this year? I have no idea. Are they even going to re-release her this year? I don't know for sure, but I can't imagine them having this highly coveted Tier 10 premium ship. They can slap some ridiculous price tag on, or separate another mountain worth of resources from the player base from 2 years later, and them not do anything with it this Christmas. Again, if they release it as a normal tier 10, I would say, yeah, it's actually not too bad, to get her for that, for either doubloon, steel, or research bureau points, if she's, the appropriate price point for a normal tier 10 in this game. If they do another salvage for victory event, where again you have to hand over gobs of resources in order to acquire her, I don't really think the ship's worth it at all. Again, I do not know what's happening with the ship this year either way, but I do know, according to Wargaming, they were going to wait 2 years, and then that would open the window for them to, or I should say open the door for them to reintroduce the ship into the game, along with the defense and the other ships that were given away, well, not really given away, that were part of the Salvage for Victory event. So those will probably be coming back, this Christmas, this New Year's event, but we shall see indeed, dear viewers. But I thought, it was interesting seeing that ship get brought up in the comments, and then thinking, I really haven't played this ship in a while. Let's take her out, see what see if she's got any better. She hasn't, of course, having to deal with super CVs and super submarines and super ships more so now than when she was released 2 years ago. Oh yeah, no, that's not a good time in the Kitakami. We're really getting into any close quarters action isn't really a good time in the Kitakami in any way, shape, or form, unless you were the one doing the ambushing with the torpedo tube. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. This is probably the most expensive yet useless ship in the game. It's a full-on meme ship, but it's a really expensive meme ship. You know, like the other meme ships in game, you know, the Illinois, the Paulo Emilio, ships like that, you know, they cost the same as a tier 10 ship of their, you know, equivalent resource value, right? But this thing, poof, believe it costs what? As much as 3 or 4 Research Bureau ships. You put all those Research Bureau points together. So that's a little nuts. But yeah, if they do release her in a normal way, you know, and you like the meme ships, sure. But if she comes back in another Salvage for Victory event, yeah, nah, that's a pass for me, Chief. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the Kitakami. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful Saturday, wonderful rest of your week. And I hope to catch you guys in the next one.